This is the Happy Families podcast. Honestly, I don't really want to have this conversation, but every now and again on the pod, we've just got to talk about that parenting stuff that no one wants to talk about, the stuff that gives you the ick, the stuff that makes you sad, and so glad that you grew up when you did and not in 2026. Tricky questions are what we answer every Tuesday, and today it's a tricky question to do with what happens when your kids are getting sent stuff on screens that it's not the ick stuff, it's just the coarse, violent stuff. The stuff where kids are baiting one another, creating fights so that they can send them around. And your child is becoming potentially desensitized because they kind of think it's funny that some kid in their grade or in a local school nearby got hit in the head by some other kid. We'll go deeper in just a sec, but that's our conversation today. It's a tricky question on the Happy Families podcast. Stay with us. Hello, welcome to the Happy Families podcast, where you get real parenting solutions every day. It's Australia's most downloaded parenting podcast. We're Justin and Kylie Coulson. We're the parents of 6 kids. Kylie, I think I can be confident in saying we feel like we've been through most of it. Maybe not all of it, but we've been through a lot of it.
I kind of get to the point where I think there can't be anything that the kids could do that would shock me.
And then they come home and shock us. And it seems that we're not the only ones. Emmy has sent us a question. If you'd like to send us a tricky question, by the way, you can do it by emailing us your voice note, podcasts@happyfamilies.com.au. Alternatively, you can jump onto our super simple system at happyfamilies.com.au and ask us whatever you want. We'll answer. I mean, it doesn't even have to be about parenting. Probably better if it is, but we'll answer kind of anything. Emmy asked us this one.
My 12-year-old daughter in Year 7 was sent some confronting video footage yesterday of a fight between 2 teenage girls at another local Melbourne high school, which tells me that this content is being shared around. How should I talk to her about what she's seen and encourage her also not to share or spread that kind of content? Thanks.
I feel like I'm kind of the parenting guy who's always saying the same thing again and again and again. But you cannot stop when it comes to the kids and tech. You've got to be across it. And fortunately,
there's this really fine line between being helicopter, right, and being on top of them all the time and giving them space and autonomy and allowing them to kind of use their agency.
So young kids, they don't get it. Not when it comes to phones, not when it comes to screens.
As I listened to Emmy, I just wanted to say, just don't give her a phone.
Yeah. Like I've been saying this for like 10 or 15 years now. Kids don't need smartphones. They need smart parents. Smart parents give their kids dumb phones. If it's not the kids sending violent stuff, it's sexual stuff. If it's not that, it's the algorithm. It's YouTube sending content that's extreme and pushes them to the edges and puts ideas in their heads. So, Emmy, I really appreciate your question, and you're absolutely right. It's great that you're aware of it. It's great that you're monitoring it. Guess what, Kylie? I've got some stats.
Please share.
I know you love it when I share stats. Okay, e-Safety Commissioner, 3,500 Australian kids survey, 3/4 of them, not quite, 74%. Let's say 3/4, we're 1% off. 3/4 of 10 to 17-year-olds have seen harmful content online. Fight videos are explicitly in that category. So, Emmy, your daughter is not unusual here. She is typical. That doesn't make it good. Just because it's normal, quote unquote, doesn't mean it's okay. And there's some data that shows that when you witness it online, it can be as bad, if not worse, for your stress levels than being there in person, which is kind of hard to believe. Like if you're there in person, it can be pretty frightening, right?
I was having a conversation with a couple of our adult children a few days ago and just asking them about the different things they were exposed to at school. I was so blown away at just how prevalent all of these challenges have been throughout their schooling.
Yeah, they don't come home and talk to you about it though, do they?
No, they don't. Not to the extent that you'd kind of, I guess, hope. I was just talking to a couple of our girls the other day and asking them about some of the things that I'm concerned about now for our younger children and the things that they're being exposed to. And I was actually really shocked to know that in spite of the fact that we sent them to good schools, Christian schools with families that share the same values, they were still exposed to these really confronting and challenging challenges back then.
Yeah, I'm going to go so far as to say that adolescence in 2026, regardless of the school you're going to, is a septic tank.
Yeah.
I sound like an old guy who's shouting at clouds here, but it is so bad. It is so astonishingly, shockingly, frighteningly bad. Parents need to have these conversations. And as Emmy seems to be doing, right? She's saying, I sat down with my daughter, I saw this stuff on her phone. So that's great that you're doing it. But the impact of technology on our children's well-being, I don't think that we can underestimate how impactful it can be, nor can we overstate how important it is that we're on top of things.
So the stats are telling us that nearly 2/3 of kids
No, three-quarters of kids. Bigger number than 2/3, 66% versus 75%. Big number. 3/4 of kids are seeing this stuff. And you know what else is happening? Like, kids are going into schools and they're baiting one another. They're setting up fights. They're creating fight clubs so that they can record it, so that they can go viral with it. This has been going on for several years now.
And what are the statistics saying is most problematic about the sharing of this stuff?
So what happens is, first of all, it stresses you out, but then you become desensitized. But the stress and anxiety don't go away. Let me share a real life example. So September 11, 2001, you and I are old enough to remember, I was working at a radio station in Newcastle, an XFM, when this happened. And the TV stations kept on playing the tragedy over and over and over again, showing the airplanes crashing into buildings. And so what happens is, if you see something happen once, let's say you saw the footage once, it would shock you and you would walk away and you would remember it and you would think about it, but eventually it would kind of fade. But they were showing it on repeat, nonstop, for days. And what happens is, the more you watch it, the more anxious you get. It makes things worse and worse and worse and worse for you, until eventually you become desensitized to seeing it. Like, it does, you kind of forget the enormity of it, if that makes sense. So you've got two different psychological mechanisms that are just amplifying bad outcomes for you. And that's what happens when kids watch all of this violence on their favorite Instagram channel that shows the hideous stuff that happens in their suburb. And there is an Instagram channel for just about every suburb that's out there, showing shoplifting and fights in toilets and damage to cars and public property and all that sort of stuff. So after the break, we need to talk about what to do. What does Emmy say to her daughter to help her to navigate this very, very tricky and frankly awful situation effectively? Stay with us. That's next. We're back. It's the Happy Families podcast. How do you have a conversation with your kids about what they're seeing online, especially when it's so close to home, nearby high school, and it's freaking your child out a little bit? Or maybe it's not freaking them out enough. They're getting a bit of a kick out of it. How do we navigate this?
Well, that's my question for you.
Because I'm the
You're
parenting
the
expert.
parenting expert.
Do you know
how do you navigate this?
They didn't teach us this when I did my psychology degree. I want to step into what the theory indicates. Albert Bandura was a Stanford psychologist who is just world famous for his really, really smart studies. And he came up with this idea called moral disengagement. And I think that's what's going on here. This is why kids share bad videos. The mechanisms that Bandura developed were that there's a minimization of responsibility, that there's a distortion of consequence, and there's just dehumanization. Those three things. If you can grab a pen and write them down and talk to your child about those three things and how that plays out when you're sharing these kinds of videos. Again, minimization of responsibility. Everyone's already seen it, right? Distorting the consequences. Oh, I didn't hit anyone. Dehumanizing. She probably deserved it. So you talk about that, and that's what lets bystanders be bystanders without feeling any guilt. It's this moral disengagement. And the reframe that we need to get across to our teenager is that sharing is participation. You might not have held the camera. You might not have set up the fight. You might not have thrown your fist at their face. You might not have cheered them on.
Well, you're perpetuating the violence.
Precisely. And you're reinforcing the harm by sharing it or liking it or talking about it.
Or watching it. Because they get likes, right?
Right.
The more traction online there is.
They don't always get likes because it's not always on TikTok or Instagram. Sometimes it's just via it's via a text message.
Right.
Right. So, and that's the other thing. Like, kids are getting around the algorithm and getting around the sanctions that the safety commissioner might put on them if they go through social media platforms by just sharing them in encrypted chats, in WhatsApp, in basic text messaging. There's another thing that I think is even more concerning, and that is that the poor kid who's been the victim here, they are ongoingly traumatized because now everyone knows it and everyone sees it. And when they walk down the street or through the school playground, everyone knows. It can trigger the next fight. So I think this conversation with your child, Emmy, it's not just about moral disengagement, as important as those elements of moral disengagement are that I talked about. It's also about empathy. And the research literature shows that empathy is probably the biggest protective factor here. Teaching your kids to be empathic in these situations, which is exactly the opposite of what they seem drawn to, is the central thing to do.
Too often, though, I think that the empathy is put in the wrong direction. Like, kids are often more inclined to side with the perpetrator, the aggressor in the situation, because they've seen the way an interaction has gone that's left that person obviously so fueled up that they feel like they have to,
Right.
kind of man up and defend their position. Or
Maybe, but then we've got more teaching to do, right? And that is that no matter what somebody does, is it ever okay for you to start using your fists? Is it ever okay to throw things at somebody? Is it ever okay to be violent? And maybe there is actually a case for violence, but usually there's not.
Yeah.
It's a pretty extreme situation where you're defending yourself, not when you're going on the attack because you don't like someone. I just thought, as you were saying that as well, Kylie, there's two other things that we can talk about with Emmy and her daughter. Number one, we want to ask questions like, why was this sent to you? Who wins when you forward it? Like, what is this fanning, and who's fanning it and why? And do you want to be a part of something like that? So those kinds of questions are really valuable. The last thing that we really need to emphasize is legally sharing fight videos. It won't always, but it can meet the definition of cyberbullying under Australian law. The E-Safety Commissioner can get involved here, and so can the Federal Police. And if you forward it, you can incriminate yourself. Right. In fact, in WA, I don't know if I've got this exactly right, but in WA, they already auto-suspend students who film fights. Like, that's just a policy across Western Australian schools. If you are filming a fight, you will be suspended just like the people who are in the fight, because we don't want this stuff to keep on building and growing. So let's wrap it up there. Our time is done. I think the most important thing to get to, Emmy, for your daughter is have the conversation, but then you're asking for a vote from her. I'm going to vote that I'm not going to share it. I'm not going to forward it. I'm not going to comment on it. I'm not going to keep on rewatching it, but I am going to report it. I am going to tell an adult. I'm going to be the kid who breaks the chain. That's the direction that I'd be heading. It sounds like you're on the right track anyway, because you do know about it and you've been able to come to us about it. So hopefully some useful insights and info in that conversation. If you've got a tricky question for us, hit us up at happyfamilies.com.au. Super simple system there. We scroll down, push the record button and start talking. You can also get in touch with us by sending us an email, a voice note to podcasts@happyfamilies.com.au. All right, let's wrap it there. The Happy Families podcast, produced by Justin Rulon. Mim Hammonds provides research, admin, and additional support. And if you'd like more info to make your family happier, you can find it at happyfamilies.com.au.